Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade. So it's been almost a week now we've been into Season 7, and yeah, it's been quite a good start. I've been really enjoying the season so far. Before we actually get into the main body of the video, I'll just say, as kind of one of the previous videos, we're streaming again over on Twitch now as this video goes live, trying to actually stream a little bit more regularly. So hopefully I'll be able to keep it up, we shall see. Yeah, but it's certainly been a bit of a busy start to the season. So yeah, do hop down, do come and say hello over in Twitch. I'll put a link in the comments down below. So we're obviously on the Great Wall. Not exactly my favourite map in the world, but certainly one I prefer defending than I do attacking. So it's nicer that we managed to get on the defence, because it's quite a hard one for the attackers to actually get this A point. And we start things off. Oh, he fell to his death. We start things off defending on the A point, and the enemy tried to make a push up this wall to go into the tower, but unfortunately for them, we were there and we were able to sort of drive them back with our paladins. Didn't take any losses, a little bit of damage on the unit, but it's really stopped them from being able to push in from this direction. Although, of course, they are now through the breach and basically surrounding the A point. So I just decided to get myself healed up before we get pushing down, into the main body of the fight. So yeah, so as I said, Season 7, been quite a busy start, or first week of the season, which is partially why we've got this slightly easier to make video than a proper unit video. But hey, give me a break. What do you want? We move in, get the kill on this glaive. And yeah, we're just trying to basically hold the A point. This is all about choke points really on this map, on this A point. As you'll see on the main way in there, we've got some shields and we've got some fortibraccios covering the way in. Makes it really hard for the enemy to get in. And then I'm trying to be that sort of mobile unit that moves around and intercepts as they push in some of the more sideways. We're just covering the front of these forties as they block in the main way and the gateway, and that enables me just to have a little bit of a look what else is going on. And actually, as we turn back round, some of those iron caps are pushing through the gateway, just into the front of the forties. As more starts to come, I just put the unit into melee mode just to so that contain them, and that enables the forties to really block them up. And as those paladins come in, I go in for the charge, which take a few losses, go in for the heal and the iron sides, and we're able to really flatten not only the hero, but that other unit of paladins. Partly because of the stun from the 40s, because you've got to remember those 40s probably now have the bracing stun doctrine on them, so that means the enemy is being almost permanently stunned while they're fighting. The enemy made a push with some of the other units like these Imperial Spear Guard, they just get pushed back. We can quite easily overwhelm them now and just fly through these enemy units, catch that and push them back out of this little courtyard area. And that's what makes it so hard for the enemy to actually get in, to actually get a push going through one of these gateways, particularly with all these 40s actually holding these gateways intact. Makes it pretty difficult for them. So while we're waiting for the enemy to sort of regather back up and make another push on the A point, there are actually a couple of things happening in Season 7, which are kind of interesting. Firstly, if you read the patch notes on the recent update that went live, well, today as I'm recording this, which is Thursday, this video will probably come out Friday, so yesterday, in effect, when you're watching it. If that makes any sense. Why did I make that so complicated? The Sons of Fenrir, the Wolfie Berks, the Jumpy unit, actually got a bit of a buff to them, which I think they kind of needed. They were a little bit underpowered, a little bit hard to use well, so it's interesting to see that they're going to be getting a buff. We may end up trying to revisit those, see what they're like actually post-buff, see if it's made much of a difference, see if it's actually made them, a properly viable unit now, because hopefully it has. We're also, in a few days, going to be getting the Berserkers unlocking, and they are probably the unit I am looking forward to most this season. They're the one I'm really excited about, because they're the ones that, when we were testing them on the PTR server, they were the ones I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the rage mechanics and kind of how it worked. I also really like how they go into frenzy mode, they become uncontrollable, and I've liked the fact that they've got almost 20k hit points. So I think they're going to be a really interesting unit. So I'm going to try and get them unlocked, leveled, and get a video on them pretty much as soon as they come out, because they're the unit for me that I think is going to be the defining unit of the season, and they're the ones I'm most looking forward to unlocking. But yeah, as I say, hopefully we'll also revisit those Sons of Fenrir as well. So whilst we're just chatting about that, obviously the enemy made a few more pushes through the gateway. These paladins just absolutely dominate in this sort of situation, which actually leads on to another interesting point. There's been a lot of talk about palace guards lately. This guy had no idea I was here. Been a lot of talk about palace guards lately, about how they're now become a really meta unit and they're a lot better. I've not actually tested them fully yet, and we'll hopefully be having a video on them at some point as well. I'm going to have a lot of videos to make. But initially, they are obviously improved compared to what they were before. It's because they've increased their shield bash breakthrough, which seems to relate to their charge as well. Ow, just got flattened by cavalry. So it seems to have made them a lot more effective in their sort of capacity to charge through things, and also their capacity to deal with enemy units. But I think it has to be relative. They're improved, yes, but they're improved from a very, very low base point. And I think people are getting a little bit carried away about them, you know, saying they're sort of equal to paladins or they're the next greatest unit in the game at the moment. And I think people are getting a bit carried away in that. Yes, they're improved. Yes, they're good. They're not necessarily that good. And so I think you've got to be taking them with a bit of a grain of salt. But hopefully we'll actually have a video on them shortly. And we can actually test them a little bit more properly, see if they really do hit through a stalwart. I mean, obviously that's a bit of an idealised situation we've seen in some of the footage. So, yeah, we'll actually have to see how they perform and if they really do very well. Because I'm a bit sceptical that they're going to be good, but they're not going to be that good. Particularly not paladin good, anyway. But in the meantime, while I was chatting again, what happened? Basically, we managed to push quite a few of them out when we flanked through the back of that guy, but I didn't see the cavalry coming through that main gateway. I think it would have been pretty hard for me to spot that. I mean, I guess I could have seen it on the minimap. Maybe a little bit more situational awareness required, but I just sort of turned around and they charged through the doorway. I just didn't expect it to be there. Just caught me out completely. So really good cavalry charge by whoever did that. Completely wiped, unfortunately, my remaining paladins. And then with me dead, that basically allowed them to get in and start to force the A point out and drive the rest of the team back. But we gave them a really good defense, and actually they're a lot lower on units now than us. So we've managed to really sort of cause quite a lot of attrition and wear them down quite a lot between, you know, holding that point for such a long time. And it's also put them pretty tight on time because they've not got that long now to either cap B or C. Someone put an arrow rain on me with their archers, which is kind of a strange thing to do. I guess they wanted to hit me, but maybe they thought I had a unit there with me or something, but I'm not really sure. But with the A point gone, it means we're now back down defending B and C. I tend to prefer defending the C point, particularly with these Iron Reapers. Not particularly playing them for a unit that I enjoy, but we have never actually done a video on the Iron Reapers. So I've finally got them properly leveled up and just starting to play with them, just starting to get the hang of them a little bit more. Although I keep forgetting to switch them from the sword to the flail. It's a really hard habit to get into when you've not done it much before. So we've only just started playing the first few games on them. Yeah, not exactly the most amazing unit ever, but they occasionally have their moments. Their charge can be quite nice. So I throw them over on the C point, just so I can sort of forget about them for a while we're seeing what's going on. Because it takes the enemy quite a while to actually get up to start pressuring the C point. Because from where they are, they've got to work their way to the back supply point, then sort of wind their way up this path and round the back to actually be able to get to the C point. Unless they climb up the back route, a little bit like they're actually doing now. So maybe a bit more mini-map situation required. Good job, Evo. But yeah, unless they climb up those back stairs right at the back. But we still have some of the team out there actually sort of engaging them at the moment. And I think it was at this point that I noticed, okay, they may end up actually be starting to climb up the back there. See, we've got some squires going in, but realistically, against that many heroes and stuff, those squires are really not going to be standing very much of a chance. And I certainly don't want to be going out there against that lot with my poor little Iron Reapers. A lot of enemy, because the C point is actually in the gateway, will climb up the ladders here. And that's what I was sort of thinking, that's what I was thinking they're likely to be doing. Still hadn't noticed that I haven't got the flail out, but I'm waiting to see if they climb up. I'm almost wanting them to climb up because I want to try and contain them with my Iron Reapers as they come up. Quite a few people come at once, which is a little bit more than expected. Annoyingly, I missed one of them. We get a bit of damage in the charge, but not really as much as I would have liked. I'm still, unfortunately, in sword mode, which is really ridiculous, but, you know, this is an Evo video. We're unfortunately getting shot at by quite a lot of the enemy archers. And amazingly, the glaive decides to come up, which I thought at the time was quite brave. But he actually does a really good job of managing to keep away from me, or I do a very poor job of trying to contain him. And because I'm not in flail mode, they actually don't cause knockdown when we're just into swords, which is ridiculous that why I'm still in sword mode. But we get a few many people starting to push up, just basically distracting me. But I am the only one here, so I've got to stay on the C point. Trying to contain this guy. It manages to get me sort of pinned down a little bit, and then he manages to treb in as well. I finally realise that I've not got my flail out, start to try and contain people as they're coming up the ladder, keep managing to push them down. We finally managed to get this glaive locked down a little bit, but managed to not hit my blunt shield bash, which is really annoying. So at this point I was getting really frustrated, because I feel like I'm just being pushed left and right by these heroes, and I'm just doing such a bad job of containing them. We finally managed to get one pin down and actually kill, but we've still got 2 left to deal with. And obviously they're firing arrows in me the whole time. I'm starting to really cause a lot of damage. We finally try and get this glaive pinned in, but then he makes it out. I couldn't believe it. Managed to escape. Finally get round, and he gets himself killed. But yeah, very, very frustrating time. After what was quite a good start with the paladins on the aim point, I feel like I did a really abysmal job with those Reapers. So, note to self for future Evo, remember to switch to flail. Remember to switch to flail. It's important. So, 7 Reapers down, and some pride down the toilet, I send the Reapers to the supply point. Can't say that I don't feature bad videos sometimes on this channel. That was ridiculous. But with them going back, I'm hanging around on the sea point a little bit. But I decide, well, I've just waited here basically the entire game now. And most of the enemy team seems to be building up on B. And there's so many guys sitting on our supply point. Do I really need to be sort of sat here? So I'm thinking about possibly moving on and heading down to the B point. And my worry is that all those people on the supply point down there are just guarding the floor, when the point is actually, you know, the cap point is actually in the gateway up there. It's actually a reasonable bit of travel to get from that supply. You know, it's 20 seconds to get from that supply up onto the wall, round and into the gateway. And literally the second I step away from it, it starts getting capped. I was just annoyed by this point. I just thought there's too many people on the supply. They can deal with it. I just wanted to go and find someone else to try and kill. So I'm bringing the Reapers down. Looks like the enemy finally sending a few people up, but then there does look like they've actually got a unit up on there as well. I thought initially it was just going to be an enemy hero. So in a moment of guilt, I turn around. So caught by massive indecision, I end up heading back to the sea point. So this is all a complete waste of time by this point, but we do at least manage to get there in time. And there was a unit here, actually, these Imperial Javelins. We push through. I'm not sure if it's the same glaive player as before. It might well be. But we get off to a slightly better start in managing to pin him down and driving just straight off the wall. A little bit more successfully than we did last time. Although they managed to get those Falconetti on that on the tower further down, starting to shoot up, trying to shoot into the units over here. They managed to hit one Reaper, but it doesn't really do very much damage. And actually they don't really manage to get the cap in. With a lot of the team turned up though to respond to C, this time I thought it's definitely safe. But the B point is the one that's being pushed the most, and that's the one that I wanted to try and get down to try and save, to make sure they don't cap it, because we've only got a minute left. And unfortunately I end up getting caught by this poleaxe. I'm willing the Iron Reapers on. I go for their charge nice and early to try and get them in, because I wanted them to try and get it out, but they're just too slow for them to realistically actually catch up with that poleaxe, although I suppose it does mean it saves my life. But it means that the charge was kind of pretty redundant, because it wasn't a very accurate charge for actually getting into the building. Try and lock people down. But I didn't really have the health left after that poleaxe fight, and so the Iron Reapers just have to fight on their own. Unfortunately, Trebs end up starting to land in. They get a few kills and stuff, but Iron Reapers on their own really are not a very effective unit. They have such a slow attack speed, and even though they hit pretty hard, they really need that charge and that sort of hero control to really make them an effective unit. But it meant we did enough to control the C point and the B point, and they weren't able to push through and capture the next stage. I think on this map, it's holding that A point, which is so important. Because when you hold that A point at the start for, 5+ minutes, it makes the enemy really wear down the number of units they had. And it was the fact that they didn't really have enough stuff to push that really won us this game, more than any sort of particular skill of holding the point. We managed to pick up a lot of kills in the start, but unfortunately not much later on. The game itself actually managed to bug out. This was actually during Tuesday's territory war, so the server basically died midway through, so it meant I actually got no rewards. We don't actually get to see which units did well, which was a little bit strange, but either way, still made for a fun battle. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, do let me know what you think in the comments down below, and of course subscribe to the channel for lots more Conqueror's Blade content. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you all on the next one.